Hi there, this is John Drew here from Elevated Planet.
And Jolé Gabrielle here from Elevated Planet, and we'd like to welcome you to today's show. Thank you so much for joining us, and we have quite the show in store for you. John is going to tell us more about it.
Thank you, Jolé. Yep, it's going to be very exciting. We've even brought in Gregg Braden there at the last minute. You know what he's like. He just can't stay away. Um, he's got some words of wisdom to share, as he always does. And, this is we have the first section is actually taken from Conversations with God. And I've got to say that trilogy I find it beautiful. Honestly, I listen to it regularly. There is so much deep wisdom. Whether you believe it's God being channeled or not, the wisdom stands on its own. It's really beautiful. So we're going to dip into that because what were we trying to do here? We're trying to demonstrate the power of group consciousness. We're trying to show that even though the world around us is going to go into turmoil, and it's beginning already, but this is going to expand outwards. But we're far from helpless. We actually are super powerful. But what we have to do is come together in that group consciousness. And this is what comes through in this section of Conversations with God. It's what comes through from Gregg. It's what comes through from so many that we're covering. And then we've got Ann Tucker, who channels the angels, and we've got a big section with her and some other things to go through as well. So, we've got an awful lot of information to share with you. Should we just crack on, Jolé? What do you think?
Yes, it's time to get started.
Right, let's do it. Bear with me a sec. I'm just going to get a share screen going and get us up and running.
Throughout history, you have had remarkable teachers, each presenting extraordinary opportunities to remember who you really are. These teachers have shown you the highest and the lowest of the human potential. They have presented vivid, breathtaking examples of what it can mean to be human, of where one can go with the experience, of where the lot of you can and will go given your consciousness. The thing to remember, consciousness is everything and creates your experience. Group consciousness is powerful and produces outcomes of unspeakable beauty or ugliness. The choice is always yours. If you are not satisfied with the consciousness of your group, seek to change it. The best way to change the consciousness of others is by your example. If your example is not enough, form your own group. You be the source of the consciousness you wish others to experience. They will when you do. It begins with you. Everything, all things. You want the world to change? Change things in your own world.
Okay, so this is just a first quick pause point here, just to say this is exactly what we intend to do. We intend to start our own group, which is Nos Populi, we the people. So if you're on our mailing list, then you already have the opportunity to be part of this group, and we are going to align with so many other groups that are out there now pulling people together, because one of the key things now is to overcome fragmentation that we have. We've got a lot of well-meaning people on their spiritual path trying to do their own thing, but the more we can join together, then the stronger we become. In fact, Gregg Braden's got a piece on this a little bit later on, so we will rely on Gregg to fill in the gaps for us, but this is going to make a difference. So if you're on the Elevated Planet distribution list already, then you are effectively part of Nos Populi. If anybody watching the replay wants to be part of it, then just drop me an email at johndrew@elevatedplanet.life and I will add you to the distribution list. Obviously, it's all free of charge, but it gets us started. Thank you.
The Hitler experience, like the Christ experience, is profound in its implications and the truths it revealed to you about you. Yet those larger awarenesses live, in the case of Hitler or Buddha, Genghis Khan or Hare Krishna, Attila the Hun or Jesus the Christ, only so long as your memories of them live. That is why Jews build monuments to the Holocaust and ask you never to forget it, for there is a little bit of Hitler in all of you, and it is only a matter of degree. Wiping out a people is wiping out a people, whether at Auschwitz or Wounded Knee.
So, Hitler was sent to us to provide us a lesson about the horrors man can commit, the levels to which man can sink.
Hitler was not sent to you. Hitler was created by you. He arose out of your collective consciousness and could not have existed without it. That is the lesson. The consciousness of separation, segregation, superiority, of we versus they, of us and them, is what creates the Hitler experience. The consciousness of divine brotherhood, of unity, of oneness, of ours rather than yours, mine, is what creates the Christ experience. When the pain is ours, not just yours, when the joy is ours, not just mine, when the whole life experience is ours, then it is at last truly that, a whole life experience.
Why did Hitler go to heaven?
Because Hitler did nothing wrong. Hitler simply did what he did. I remind you again that for many years millions thought he was right. How then could he help but think so? If you float out a crazy idea and 10 million people agree with you, you might not think you're so crazy. The world decided finally that Hitler was wrong. That is to say, the world's people made a new assessment of who they are and who they chose to be in relationship to the Hitler experience. He held up a yardstick. He set a parameter, a border against which we could measure and limit our ideas about ourselves. Christ did the same thing at the other end of the spectrum. There have been other Christs and other Hitlers, and there will be again. Be ever vigilant then. For people of both high and low consciousness walk among you, even as you walk among others. Which consciousness do you take with you?
Yeah, another quick pause. Yeah, it's an interesting thought, isn't it? You know, the Hitler thing, about the fact he did nothing wrong. If you float out a crazy idea and 10 million people believe you're right, then maybe you don't think you're so crazy. You know, this whole idea of collective consciousness and the power of collective consciousness. And we're going to keep coming back to this. This is what Nos Populi is all about. Obviously, America goes to the polls on the 5th of November. And again, a time of discernment. And that's not to say that either candidate is favored by Elevated Planet, but at the end of the day, these are important decisions and shape the world we live in. It's all about the nature of consciousness coming together in unity. The power of group consciousness is enormously powerful. So can create that world of unspeakable beauty or ugliness. So we don't want division, we want unity. We don't want separation, we want oneness. That's where we're heading. Anyway, on we go.
I still don't understand how Hitler could have gone to heaven. How could he have been rewarded for what he did?
First, understand that death is not an end, but a beginning. Not a horror, but a joy. It's not a closing down, but an opening up. The happiest moment of your life will be the moment it ends. That's because it doesn't end, but only goes on in ways so magnificent, so full of peace and wisdom and joy as to make it difficult to describe and impossible for you to comprehend. It was the Buddha who said, "Life is suffering." The Buddha was right.
Once again, this is something I love. We've talked about this a lot on Elevated Planet. We think about this completely backwards. There is a fear of death. And, you know, absolutely we should honor our physical mortal existence. It is an honor to be here. But at the end of the day, the most wonderful experience you will ever have in your life is the moment that you die. And that comes out very clear in the near-death experiences and everything else that we've talked about over these last couple of years. And I think this is an important point to make here, because I think what we're entering into right now is a time where we will see a lot of people leaving the planet, because that is the way that this has always been destined to be. You know, going back to the War Scroll, going back to the Book of Revelation, going back to the Hopi prophecy, going back to the Maya calendar, they're all pointing to the same thing. This is a time of great change. Interestingly, I mean, if you go back to the work of Robert Schwartz, who talks about life planning, we plan our lives before we get here. We have exit points built in, and some people have chosen to put themselves in war zones or in the way of natural disasters, and this is something they knew about before they came here. You know, chaos is a prerequisite for change in this world, because if we didn't have chaos, why would we change? We're all told about safety and security, trying to hang on to what you've got. And the reality is, this is going to shake us out of this completely. It's going to be an elevated consciousness. And at the end of it, we will look back on it and think, thank goodness that we went through that, because where we are now gives us such a deeper understanding. It gives us a freedom we never had before in the past. But I think it's important to realize that we are immortal spirits having a human experience. Okay, now just to change tack slightly, we are going to just take a quick look at how things have changed over the last week or so. Certainly, you know, in terms of what we were told, again, going back to what Pam Gregory was telling us about the risks of flooding, that we've already seen quite a bit of during the latter part of September, again, in line with the astrology. And certainly the supermoon that was on the 17th of October, we've seen an awful lot of activity. I know many people will look at it and just say, well, that's just a pure coincidence that these weather events have taken place. But when you look at the magnitude of the flooding that's taken place in France over the last few days, the same thing is true in Italy, Poland, Germany, China, Thailand have all suffered very bad flooding. It's all building up. And I think really what it comes down to, oh yeah, Malaysia this week as well, as you will see in a moment. And obviously that is following on the back also of Milton and Helene in the US, as the hurricanes did so much damage and so much loss of life over there. So we've also tagged on Stefan Burns' latest as well, because I think this is a point worth making as well, because as Stefan points out, as the sun rotates round relative to the Earth, there are large sunspots that have been very active on the far side that will come round to face us. That could create some activity over the latter part of October. So, interesting times.
Just in the past couple of days, there has been a flurry of solar activity, all coming from sunspot group 3854. We see a whole bunch of M-class flares erupt from that sunspot group that is now rotating out of view, may trigger a proton radiation storm if we continue to get significant solar flares from that sunspot group, especially if they are long in duration. Then we've also just exited out of a very minor G1 geomagnetic storm, and we have some big new sunspots rotating into view in just the next few days. And so it looks like the latter half of October is going to be quite dynamic, and right now is a little bit of the quiet period.
Thank you, Stefan. Yeah, I love his work. So just to say that, you know, I definitely recommend checking out Stefan Burns on YouTube, because you learn so much. You know, I mean, he's a geophysicist, so he's imparting significant knowledge back to us. But it's really interesting to see how these things can manifest themselves moving out. These, you know, we can expect a proton storm by all accounts. So, you know, get your proton umbrella at the ready. I'm sure they're available on Amazon. But it's going to be, you know, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on, because I know from previous videos that he's done recently is that the side of the sun which is facing away from us, which then comes back into view as it gets towards the end of October, that is going to get very lively if it continues the activity that it's had. So, you know, and it does have an impact, because, you know, the Earth's magnetic field is actually very thin right now, which means that as that radiation comes towards Earth, a lot more of it gets through than did before. The Earth is amazingly electrified right now, and it all aligns with the change that is being gone through. So this is what I find really interesting about this, all these changes coming together. And that's what really fascinates me the most. So, Jolé, what would you care to add?
Wow, it's what a great time to be alive. I know it may seem daunting, right, with all that we just saw and heard, but you know, this transition and up level within Mother Earth, we can all take advantage of within ourselves and up level our frequency and our vibration. Just like she's releasing, let us release so that we can, because in my, you know, past experience of working with myself and others to heal, it's like an onion, you know, peeling off layers. And to be able to do that in lockstep with Mother Earth is a form of self-preservation. Right. So, you know, so as she's sloughing off, it's like it's important for us to get in that mode of letting go of some of these things.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. So great. Thank you, Jolé. So next up, we have Gregg. Gregg is, we've used Emilio Ortiz's work before, and this is a slightly different one that he has. He's got a friend with him this time, and it's the Energy Moto interview that Gregg did within this last week. And deep gratitude to Anita, who's here right now. Say thank you, Anita, for forwarding this video to me, because the sections that are here, you know, and he talks about the divine matrix, which I know Anita got a signed copy of that. I've read that same book as well, in again, another compilation book that Gregg's put together, and it is brilliant. It is amazing. And the joy of it really is that he's a scientist at heart, right? So he understands this stuff from a spiritual perspective, but he bridges the gap for us left brainers, which is important to me because, you know, I've been a left brainer for many decades. So the thing that when I realized I got my version of reality wrong, going back to 2018, it made me very curious as to how wrong I had got everything. So I then sort of spent the last 6.5 years just immersed in studies to find out what this is really all about. What is the nature of consciousness and the human experience really about? So I think in some ways my left brain works in my favor. But I've got to say that the right brainers, which is mainly the female population, you know, it seems like so many, it's like Jolé, like you guys here now, there's so much more right brain talent that comes through to that psychic ability or the clairvoyant ability. So to me, I have to kind of work to kind of bridge that gap, but the gap is fully bridged. You know, I am totally immersed in this. I love it, love it, love it. Thanks again to Anita. Thank you for bringing this our way. And we are going to have a listen to what Gregg says to line us up for this next section.
While our modern world and mass media may have been caught off guard to some degree by the changes that we're seeing now, I have to tell you, our indigenous ancestors for 5,000 years have been telling us that we would live a time of tremendous change. Now, they had no way of knowing exactly what that change would mean, but it should not come as a surprise that we're living this time of extremes, because there are natural cycles and rhythms that are converging in a very rare way. We've never seen this in our lifetimes. We haven't seen it in recorded human history.
It's really fascinating in your book, The Divine Matrix, that field, that underlying field that connects everything, our beliefs, our consciousness, all of these things. You were making the point in that book that you only need a square root of a 1%. And that took me a while to understand, but it really gets to the fact that only a small group of people can influence that field and the beliefs going towards the next generations, the next future.
First of all, thank you for mentioning the Divine Matrix. It was very healing. Yeah, well, thank you. It was healing for me to write that book. It was written in 2007, published in 2008. And this is how far we have come. When that book was published, it was considered fringe science, or pseudoscience is what some people called it, although the book was based upon peer-reviewed, rock-solid science that simply wasn't common knowledge.
Yeah.
Since that time, the book has gone from being thought of as a fringe book. It is now required reading in some physics classes in the United States and Canada right now.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And we now know more than we knew in 2007. So in 2007, there were studies that were done of how many people it would take to influence consciousness in a population. And for that to happen, you have to assume there is a field of energy that is connecting those people, holding everything together. So at that time, the studies suggested that in populations of 10,000 people or greater, that it took a certain number of people to influence the consciousness in those populations. And that number was the square root of 1% of the population. So you calculate 1%, and then you take the square root of that. Since that time, while those numbers are important, and obviously the more people we have, I think the more effect we have quicker. What the studies now suggest, now we know more about quantum fields. Mm-hmm. And the studies now suggest it's less about the sheer number of people and more about the quality of the consciousness that number of people embody, suggesting it can take a relatively few number of people to really embrace what is called coherence. We have the ability to create physiological coherence in our bodies, and that coherence influences the field around us. And when people create that coherence in their bodies, what we find is the number of traffic accidents declines, and the number of violent crimes decline, and the number of assaults on people declines. So we know there's a direct correlation between the coherence that we create within ourselves and how that influences our families, our workplace, our classroom, ultimately our communities and entire nations. So it's interesting because the science continues to support the fact that we are deeply connected in ways that we're only beginning to understand. And now the science is searching for ways to apply that connection. And this is where science and our most ancient and cherished spiritual traditions come together, not necessarily religion. Religion is about the rules and the dogma created by humans regarding their relationship to the world around them and maybe to the cosmos and the higher power. But the spiritual principles existed long before the religions. So when we go into our most ancient and cherished spiritual traditions in North America, Native American traditions are commonly referred to, or in the Andes Mountains of southern Peru, the shamans and the healers and the mystics, and in the monks and the nuns in Tibet and the Buddhist traditions, and the mystics and the yogis in India and Nepal. They're all different from one another. But the common thread that brings them all together is they all looked to something within themselves to help optimize who they were, and in the presence of the best version of themselves, that influenced the world around them. And science now is bearing this out. Science is on our side when it comes to our ability to self-regulate our own biology. No other form of life can do what we can do. We're the only form of life that can consciously sit down in a moment in time and choose. Say, in this moment, I choose to strengthen my immune response. Now, who doesn't want that in a global pandemic world, a stronger immune system? We're the only form of life that can consciously choose to awaken the longevity enzymes. And when we talk about longevity, it's not just living longer. If you're living longer, it means you're healing, you're rejuvenating, you're regenerating. We're the only form of life that can do that. Self-regulating our biology. We're the only form of life that can access deep states of intuition on demand. super cognition, super memory, super recall. I used this when I was in college. On demand. We're the only form of life that can create resilience to a changing world on demand. No other form of life can do this consciously. And it's because our ability to self-regulate our biology is what gives us the evolutionary edge to thrive, not to survive, but to thrive and create a better world on the other side of where we are right now. Once we begin to understand that, I think we begin to look at what's happening in our world a little differently. Yeah. If we don't know what I just said, here's what happens. When the world begins to change, there's a fear. And in that fear, people, communities, societies, governments, nations will try to cling to an image and an idea of the familiar world of the past. Yeah. We can't go back to that world because it doesn't exist. That world is gone. And this is where the suffering comes from, because we're trying to apply the way we've been taught to deal with the past. All right, we're trying to apply that in a new world, but the new world doesn't work like the world of the past. Yeah. So we need new ways of thinking, new ways of living, and it comes down to something very simple. Two things. The most simple is about love. The bottom line, do we love ourselves enough to live our lives in a way that gives our bodies what they need to do what they know how to do really well? Do we love ourselves enough to live and to think in a way that allows the best version of ourselves and the best versions of our families and communities to come forward? And the science tells us how to do that. Science is telling us what we need to do to self-regulate our immune system. And it's all the things we already know: diet, exercise, nutrition. But there are new discoveries in terms of diet, new discoveries in terms of exercise and nutrition.
So, again, so powerful. And, Anita, I know you kind of were doing your own calculations on this as well, about how few people can make such a massive change. If it was talking about the square root of 1% of the population. And if you work that back, that means for every 1,000 people you get on this journey, that is worth the value of 100 million. Now, but interesting to show how this is now evolving, because it's not just about the number, it's about the quality of those people who are moving forward into this group consciousness. So I just think it's enormously powerful, and I think he puts it across so well. And it influences the field around us. That, we did our show going back 2 weeks ago, which is all about the field. It's all about this quantum field. And this is also one of the points that we also have to be mindful of, is that once all these things start, and it's gonna create fear for a lot of people, naturally. Once, fine, if you're ready and waiting for this, then you kind of understand what's going on, and you can see everything that happens as they step closer to the new Earth, which is exciting. But there's going to be a lot of density out there. But if you go into that fear mode, then you are quantumly entangling with the density, and that's not something you want to do. Really quantumly entangling with the high frequency energies of love, of joy, of happiness. And it's not always easy when you're facing off against like these flood events and various other things that you see in the world, and whatever else is to come, because as you'll hear from the channeling from the angels that will be following this, we will see war type conflicts as well on the rise. This is part of it. But this is part of what is supposed to be happening. So as we see this unfold, we have the benefit of knowing that all that is happening is that this is following the prophecy as it has been laid out for thousands of years. And we have chosen to be here at this particular point in time. It's an honor to be on the planet at this time, because we're seeing it before the change took place. We'll see it during the time, and then we'll see it going into the new Earth. How good is that, right? But there is going to be a lot of challenges along the way to the way of life that we've become familiar with. So I think that is the key takeaway as I would see it. And yeah, I think that's kind of what I wanted to say about that. Jolé, what would you care to add?
You're absolutely right. As you were talking, I just kept hearing the words false evidence appearing real. And I understand that what we're seeing, those images that we just saw were very, powerful, or
Right.
whatever you want to
Yeah.
call them, to trigger fear. However, the best thing that we can remember is that love is the only thing that has the ability to transform. Now, I know when you're sitting there in a flood, you're like, you can't just love, help needs to. But like we said, as a consciousness and as a people, if we begin to send that love, then guess what happens? Those things show up. The help that people need begin to show up, just like it did in North Carolina and some of these places, because people mobilized in a way that was like, I guess you could say, in alignment with their fellow men, helping others, and things are changing in a way that's forcing us to come together collectively, right? Because we see that we really can't go this alone. This transition requires a connectedness and a remembering of our interconnectedness. And so that's another thing that we can rely on and, I guess, look to move through this is community, starting with ourselves, right? Because we need to get all of our body on board.
Yeah.
And then our energy, so that can then reverberate, and we can bring in the things that will help us move into unspeakable beauty. But it's not any of death and destruction that we see. We're sort of like, I don't want to say the cleanup crew, to move that into the light.
Yes. Yes, and it's good that the last little section we've got going into the before going into the meditation actually tackles this as well, because there's a natural part. I mean, fear, we don't want to be living in fear, but actually fear exists for a reason. There's a time when the fight or flight is the right reaction to circumstances around you. So it's not to diss fear entirely, it's just keeping it appropriate, but also being able to move out of fear. And that's I know, Jolé, you at the meditation you're going to be pulling together for us, will be focusing on that as well.
Yes, moving out fear.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to just have a quick look at now, if we look at the initiatives that are going on around the world as to people coming together to create this group consciousness, to create that power. This example, this really came from about 4 weeks ago. We did the show which included Jim Self. Fantastic guy, and he and his friends have Project Park Bench, where they come together to do meditations. This is just a 2-minute clip, but again, we will put the full interview, the full meditation that actually goes on for 1 hour and 11 minutes. That will be attached or linked to the newsletter tomorrow, and it is excellent because I actually sat through this myself, and it was really, really good. So just to give you the 2-minute view of this, and then we will be back again. So bear with me a second.
Everybody, welcome. Welcome to the Park Bench. Today I'm going to take you through a little journey with the group. The group wants to take you to experience different parts of planet Earth herself, to kind of get the feeling, because she is moving and evolving as well. So we're all stepping into this higher vibrational state. Here we're calling it the 5th dimension. We've been re-imprinted with 4th dimensional attributes as we move through the 4th dimension to start a whole new experience in the 5th dimension. 5th dimension has already landed quite well. The challenge is many times we tend to use the old 3rd dimensional rules. We play the game in the old 3rd dimensional ways, trying to make things work in the 5th dimension. So today, we're going to step a little higher. I invite you to take a couple of deep breaths and just release the thoughts of the day for just a moment. Now, before we get started, we are going to be working today with water. And as such, we're going to show you all sorts of pictures of water. You can use this with your eyes open. You can close your eyes and simply allow us to lead you through it. Both of them work fine. It's entirely your preference. And of course, you can do one and then come back and watch the other one later if you so choose. But before we get started today, Since we're working with water and moving into a higher vibrational state, I'm going to ask you to get some water, to bring some water here around you during this meditation. At a certain point during the whole process, the group is going to have us simply open our heart chakras and infuse that love energy into this water. And then at the end, they have some specific instructions they'll give you about what you can do with the water to make a difference, to plant seeds of peace and plant seeds of the higher fifth dimensional state that we're all stepping into.
Okay, so Ann Tucker put out an excellent video the other day, which will be linked on the newsletter as always. But what I've done is I've made a note of the main points because we don't have time to go through the full thing here. But again, I would, as always, encourage you to go back and check it out for yourself and actually fill in the gaps. But I've written down the headlines and I'm just going to read them out to you like a newsreader so you can see what the angels believe is going to unfold itself over the next months and years. So what they tell us is that we need to anticipate joy despite the external. Do what we need to do to feel peaceful. Be the soul that creates what we become. It is from you that the new world emerges. It need not dim your light. The only way forward is through the events that are about to unfold. Try to remain present. Notice when you get triggered and don't let it draw you in. Don't anticipate your suffering. Be the one who anticipates joy. Be the observer of your feelings and let all things fly from within. We can choose to rise above what is. And they actually said, again, this is a direct quote, there is an element of surprise waiting to be yielded that must be the upsetting of things that are relied upon. And explains these are energies that must be expressed, and it could happen in a variety of ways. And again, the angels said the planet must come again into harmony with itself. The explanation of that is every upheaval is a step further forward towards our new Earth. So whether it's weather patterns or Earth shifts, whether it's the forthcoming election in the US, whether it's the economy, whether it's the lies that are surfacing, the betrayals that have taken place that we will come to realize, the toxins that we talked about just last week, the 5G impact of water that has been known, it enters into the public domain. You can even think about the likes of the Stephen Greer revelations that have been going on for many years now, but finally they are starting to surface with Congress taking hearings to actually bring this stuff into the public domain. And there has been much suppressed knowledge of our contact with otherworldly life forms. The angels said, there shall be turmoil of a physical kind, upsetting news. We shall distance yourselves from one another, news that could polarize us yet further. There shall be the anticipation of greater war and separation amongst nations and peoples. There shall be an economic unfurling as disastrous as any of you have anticipated, and for this we are sorry. We can navigate through this, and the key, with the energy of a destruction, the phoenix rises in the same moments. So focus upon that. We can feel the grief and move right through it. Grief is the great transformer, as the Z's, Lee Harris and the Z's often tell us. We will be different, and we will be creating our reality in a new way. We will no longer need the dysfunctional systems of the present, so we will learn to let go and allow the new to emerge. In our new heightened sense of consciousness, we will no longer feel the need for the safety and security of the past that limits our evolution. We will have faith in ourselves as creators, therefore we can feel the blessings in these times regardless of the breakdown of old familiar ways. What we need will come to us. There will be no more lack. The challenges are not for long. And as the angels put it, they are the twisting of a world that must right itself. It cannot be done, it must be gone through. In essence, we have to experience it to formulate the necessary changes in ourselves. We have to witness this process. It is the reason we are here, seeing both the end of the old world and the rebirth of the new. As the angel said, what has long been undone and unknown must rise to the surface to be seen. Through witnessing it, we clear it. That's what we do. Love and forgiveness is a key. The angels will be with us wherever suffering is present, helping, helping, helping. Despite the discomfort, we will sense the presence of a deeper freedom that makes total sense to me, to have broken away from the old belief patterns and step back into our power, away from the dysfunctional systems that no longer serve, like the forest fire that creates fertile ground for new growth, away from lack and limitation. We'll no longer be pandering to materialistic ambitions that were so much part of the programming and conditioning of our past in our fear-based 3D realm. Liberation from chaos, free from the shackles of needs. As the angels put it, in the experience of the turmoil, there is yet more to be found of your own soul. There is the freedom of your own feelings, the sensation of your own heart being met by one another. So this is our metamorphosis. First, shedding the skin of the old paradigm so we get to see and understand the distortion and dysfunction of the past, allowing us to evolve into and create the new. But first, we must experience the turmoil so that we can let go, then step into our power and embody the new. We're moving from separation to unity. We'll find a new kind of freedom, of peace, and an end to loneliness. As the angels said, the rigidity of this world is crumbling, and these structures that have been relied upon are no longer meeting the demands of an earth that reaches for freedom. So, I love that. I think, again, it's a really powerful YouTube video that Anne puts these out on a regular basis. And she channels the angels and she goes back through it and she adds her own interpretation to what she receives. And it's very enlightening. And what this is telling us, this is not going to be easy. But at the end of the day, this is going to be necessary for us to shed the past and to move into the new future, which is going to be so much better than what we have been witnessing for the last decades. So, Jolé.
Well, fascinating. I feel like, the information that Ann Tucker is giving is spot on. And I just am very grateful, that there is more than just us who is leading in this direction, in this charge. And the sound is out there so that people know, hey, let's get together, let's heal, let's grow, let's transmute with Mother Earth. So I'm just such a fan of her and her work.
Yeah, no, me too. And just for information as well, Project Park Bench which is Jim Self's project, and Steve, who was there today, they actually do their Project Park Bench on the 2nd and 4th Sunday of every month at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, which is 7 p.m. in the UK. So you'll see the link on the newsletter tomorrow. And again, anybody who wants to get onto the newsletter and is not already on our distribution list, just send an email to johndrew@elevatedplanet.life and you will be on the list. So this last little section that we have here is going to lead us directly into Jolé's meditation. And this is Anne herself giving the build up to that, and that, well, we'll let it speak for itself. So here we go.
And it will become easy to get lost in our wounds during these difficult times because there will be a lot to trigger us. And that's what they're trying to tell us, that it's going to get louder. The difficulty's going to get, the triggers are going to get louder. So we have to be all the more present to this idea of not letting it suck you in. Yeah, here they say, become embroiled not. Surrender in no way to the cacophony of chaotic voices that experience this churning that must be made. But feel within your own heart there is an elevating that must permeate the very fabric of your soul. And within that space of elevation, that which cannot be remembered within the context of a new framework must be abandoned. So this is that idea. They're saying when the moment comes, when we are separating from what is, don't be lost in the fear. Let it go. Just literally, even if the fear starts to rise, just be in that space and just let it wash over you. Let it wash through you. Right here, they say shake it off, right? Let all things fly free. if fear rises, just be like, I see my fear. I'm with my fear. I love my fear. Just feel it. Feel as hard as you can. Like, don't judge it. That's how we don't push it down. That's the key. When things become crazy, the human reaction is to try to push away the negative feelings and run away from the experience we're having, right? We try to deny the experience we are having, and that is what perpetuates the experience that we're having. So what they're trying to tell us to do is to be in the experience that we're having, witness it, and witness your own reaction to it, and have that reaction as strongly as you can, but have it from the space of observing your reaction. Like you can be like, yeah, I'm freaking out right now. I'm super scared. Okay, be with my fear. I'm just going to let that move through me. And I love it, by the way. I always talk about this. I know I do. And I say it because it's just so important. But somebody in one of our viewers on YouTube, and I'm so grateful to her that she posted this, she said that she was like, I gave it a try. Like, she was having a really bad day. Like, something came up that triggered her hugely. And she said she was somewhere, so she went into the bathroom and she did this, where she sat down and she just went into the feeling, felt it as hard as she could, and let it fill up her whole body, and then felt as it moved out of the body. And then she said, yes, it worked. It dissipated. And I tell you guys, it lasts 90 seconds. If you feel your feelings as hard as you can for 90 seconds, boom, they just move out and you can't even find them anymore. And she's like, it worked. I was like, I was so psyched for her, because that's a tool. That is a tool you can use forever for everything, is to move your feelings through. But that's what they want us to do here, right? Is that they said, don't let it become dormant. Don't push it down. Let all things fly free from within. So as you're going through, that's how we move through the process and don't get stuck in the chaos. We have to experience, witness the chaos, because we can't avoid it. It's going to be all around us. Witness it. And that may be that you're witnessing it because someone you love is living right now, in Florida or, in Asheville or wherever. Like, you may be witnessing it through your experience of them, or you may be in it. You may be there, right? And when you're there, you just let it move through you. Let the fear rise up and come up, right? Become embroiled not. Surrender in no way, right, to the cacophony of chaotic voices. And this means don't surrender. Don't let yourself get lost in the fear. Don't let the fear, and what that means is don't avoid it. Don't run away from it.
Hi, Jolé Gabrielle here. Thank you so much for joining me for this creative visualization and meditation. Put your feet flat on the floor, your palms face up on your thighs. Bring your awareness to the center of your chest. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Take another deep breath in and let that wash all the way down into your belly. Hold that and exhale and let go. Ground your energy into Mother Earth by creating, visualizing, and imagining a beautiful grounding cord 6 inches in diameter and of a natural earth element connected to your first chakra, moving through Mother Earth, through the lithosphere, the asthenosphere, traveling at the speed of love and grounding into Mother Earth. As those beautiful golden heart-shaped scrubbing bubbles come in and blanket the inside and the outside of your grounding cord, while simultaneously you pull your aura in 1.5 feet around you, and you command that your higher self stand at the power position at a comfortable distance above your crown, snapping in your astral body, feet and feet, knees and knees, hips and hips, hands and hands, elbows and elbows, shoulders and shoulders, head and head, fitting inside of you like a hand fits inside of a glove. Take a deep breath in, exhale. As your soul architecture now has been put back together and you've been brought into the present moment. So now I want you to, from a heart-centered space, you're still in your heart, open your feet and call in 15% earth energy of a color that resonates with you. And make sure that color is very bright and beautiful, and it knows what to do as it begins to pool in the bottoms of your feet. And when enough of that essence is there, It begins to travel up the side channels of your legs, as then automatically your crown begins to open like the lens of a camera, and the universe knows to cascade 85% gold light, life force energy raining down from the heavens through the higher self, cascading down through the aura layer. You could see some of it go around the aura layer as the rest of it comes down into the crown, saturating, marinating the brain, the prefrontal cortex, cerebrum, cerebellum, the pituitary, the pineal, the limbic system, as it then begins to travel down the spine, lighting up each vertebra, waking up that nervous system as it moves down and, of course, moves into that vagus nerve, programming it with health, well-being, the endocrine system, lymphatic system, reproductive system, nervous system, digestive system, respiratory system, moving through the heart, the aorta, the lungs, moving down to the kidney, the liver, the spleen, moving into the reproductive organs, the colon, as it then begins to travel down and into the legs, right? Filling us up like water fills up a cup, as this mixture begins to pump out of our feet, hands, and crown chakra, really getting into the layers of the aura, 1 all the way to 7, getting into the nooks and crannies, as then that says to the heart chakra, open and send out that love into my aura layer, because we know all of our cells and our atoms at this point are heart-shaped, moving throughout our body, moving throughout our aura layer as this essence, and our nervous system then, and its spiritual energy, its electromagnetic field just starts lighting us up, lighting up that aura layer, and that spiritual nervous system pushes out, and the heart is opening. So now the toroidal field and that grid is just lit up. And as you breathe with the rhythm of your body, I want you to take a moment and program your toroidal field. Move out the fear of the first chakra. Remember what Anne said, we must move through it. Whatever fear or worry that you are experiencing right now, take a minute and face it, as this earth energy and this cosmic divine life force energy of safety, security is moving, pulsating throughout your body, programming the nervous system, the vagus nerve, all of the center of the head, the prefrontal cortex with safety. I am safe. Letting go, moving the stress down the grounding cord and into Mother Earth, as you are programming your energy with the opposite of that fear. So as that fear is moving down and out through that grounding cord into Mother Earth, and those golden suns are starting to stack themselves within that gold light above your crown, you are programming your toroidal field with all of the positive energy of bravery, of courage, of self-esteem, of confidence, of focus, of positive consciousness. I want you to sit there for a minute and flirt with those energies of confidence. Feel them. Move out the fear. What does it look like to be confident in your life? What does it look like and feel like to live without fear, to live in courage? As you breathe with the rhythm of your body, I want you to hold the space as I gently remind you that you are grounded and rooted into Mother Earth with a grounding cord 6 inches in diameter, connected to your first chakra and being cleaned off of anything that no longer serves you, anything you're ready to let go of and release. Your aura is 1.5 feet around you, as that earth energy and that cosmic divine life force energy cleans it off, removes and resolves all of the things, the blocks getting in the way of your bravery, your confidence, your highest good, your up level. as that earth energy and that cosmic divine cleans out the systems of your body and the chakras, so much so it begins to sprout out of your feet, hands, and crown chakras. Your higher self is above you at the power position as that gold light rains down, filling up your body with new potentiality, new energy. That heart is open and sending out that love into the aura layer. Inside and outside, just blanketing, mixing in with all the essence of Mother Earth and the divine, as that fear is moving out and the new energy is moving in, programming your cells with love, your toroidal field. And then that pyramid with that capstone appears as that nervous system and that electromagnetic energy just strengthens itself and connects to the ley lines within Mother Earth. Now you are locked into her positive life force energy, as that white light then begins to just encompass all of you, your aura layer, your toroidal field, Mother Earth, and you're just sitting in this loving vibration of the symphony of unspeakable beauty, of the connection of heaven and earth within you and within Mother Earth and the universe. Breathe with the rhythm of your body. See yourself in this new energy, this new earth, as fear can no longer be. It fails to be able to resonate with this energy of unspeakable beauty and bliss. Sit here. Hold the space and the vision as your body pulsates with this positive life force energy, this new information of love guiding you to your success, your wellness, your connectivity with all the divinity the universe has to offer, and especially with your fellow man. And as all of these cells of loving energy recognize and rub up against each other, giving out the information of what you are magnetizing back into you and creating in this environment as we move into unspeakable beauty. Take a deep breath in. I want you to hold it. And then exhale as you bring your awareness back into your heart. I want you to know with confidence, fear has been removed from your body and replaced with divine creativity, divine love. As you close your feet chakras and see that energy recede back into Mother Earth, you close your crown and you see that gold light recede back, but the white light stays there, encompassing us all. Your nervous system stays connected to Mother Earth and her flow and her energy. That vagus nerve is rewriting and rebooting you into health and wellness. So all those systems in your body are reconnecting to one another. Factory reset, back to health and wellness. As that loving heart energy continues to pulsate out, that loving energy, and your electromagnetic field just keeps getting stronger. As you close that crown again, you see that gold light recede. Keep your heart open, you stay grounded. As that beautiful energy settles, you take another deep breath in of safety and security and prosperity, and you exhale that lack and limitation for the last time. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
That was really nice, Jolé.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah, I truly appreciate that. And, you know, I suppose we just do the wrap up now and just say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to everybody who joined us today for our first ever Zoom-based one. And, you know, we're going to continue on with this and see how it goes. But either way, we'll always be here, whether it's YouTube or whether it's Zoom, we will be here.
Yes.
I'm excited. I'm excited for where this Nos Populi journey is going to take us, Jolé. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. It's such an honor and a privilege to do this work. I know we have so much gratitude, and just know that John and I are here, you know, for you guys. We do have a healing community, and we'd love it if you joined it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Just drop me an email at johndrew, JOHNDREW, at elevatedplanet.life for anybody who wants to join our distribution list. And really, I suppose that's it for now. But
Correct.
thank you. Thank you
Yes.
to
One more thing.
everybody who made it today.
Yes, please like, share, and subscribe.
That's it. Always forget that bit. Like, share, and subscribe. And, you know, spread the word, because this is going to be special.
Yes.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much again. Really, truly appreciate it from our heart. And we will see you again sometime very soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.